Hey everyone, and welcome back to Becoming Ultimate Masters. Today we are going to be diving into some pretty deep stuff. Um,
Deep stuff indeed.
yeah, Carl Jung's idea of archetypes.
Oh, yeah.
Ever feel like there are these patterns
Mm.
in stories and people,
Yeah.
even in yourself, that just keep popping up?
Mm.
Well,
Well,
Jung might have an explanation for that.
he did indeed. Jung believed that our minds aren't just blank slates, you know?
Right.
We're born with a kind of collective unconscious, a shared well of experiences and images that we all tap into.
Okay.
Archetypes are like the blueprints in this well, shaping how we see the world, ourselves, and each other.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit for those who haven't encountered Jung before.
Right.
Who was he, and why should we care about his theories, especially today?
So Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist,
Okay.
like a doctor for the mind.
Okay.
And he lived from 1875 to 1961.
Gotcha.
He's a big name in psychology because he went beyond just individual quirks. He saw connections between our personal struggles and the myths, stories, and symbols that show up across cultures.
So it's not just about, like, my anxieties, but maybe anxieties that humans have grappled with for centuries.
Exactly.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
And Jung noticed this even more when he was working with patients who were dealing with really intense mental health challenges. He saw patterns in their dreams, in their delusions, that mirrored ancient myths and stories from cultures they hadn't even been exposed to.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So he's saying there's this deep level of the unconscious
Yes.
that we all share, and it speaks in a language of symbols and archetypes.
Right. Think of it like this. You might have a dream about being chased.
Uh-huh.
And so might someone on the other side of the world, the details of the dream will be different, but the underlying fear, the feeling of being pursued, taps into a shared human experience that's an archetype at work.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Good.
But how does Jung explain how our minds are structured?
Yeah.
He talks about different parts of the psyche, right?
Yeah. He does. There's the conscious mind, which is what you're aware of right now, your thoughts, feelings, what you're paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the personal unconscious, which is like a storehouse of your own memories, experiences, even things you've repressed or forgotten.
Kind of like the attic of the mind where we put stuff we don't use every day, but it's still there.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
And then the big one, the collective unconscious.
Okay.
This is the deep, what we were talking about, shared by all humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's where those archetypal images and patterns reside.
So how do these archetypes actually work? Are they like little characters living in our brains?
Not quite. It's more like their energies, patterns of behavior and thought.
Mm-hmm.
Jung said they're active, meaning they influence us even if we're not aware of them. It's like gravity. You don't see it, but it's shaping how you move.
So if I'm understanding this right, these archetypes can influence our choices,
Yes.
our relationships,
Absolutely.
even our understanding of the world.
Absolutely. And the more we understand them, the more we can understand ourselves.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You know, the material you sent mentioned something called complexes.
Yes.
How do they fit into all of this?
Complexes are like clusters of emotionally charged thoughts and feelings that can form around an archetype in our personal unconscious.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like this. The archetype is the blueprint, and the complex is the specific building you make from it based on your own experiences.
Okay, so give us an example.
Sure.
I remember reading about a woman who used a larger and greater mother image to cope with trauma.
That's a powerful example of how complexes work. This woman who had experienced abuse created this image in her mind to feel safe. It's like she personalized the mother archetype, drawing on its protective and nurturing qualities to cope with a horrible situation.
So even in really difficult times, our minds can use these archetypes to help us.
They can, though, not always in healthy ways.
Right.
That's why understanding them is so important. It gives us insight into why we might react in certain ways or be drawn to particular people or stories.
This is fascinating stuff. Before we go on, I want to remind our listeners to subscribe and share this deep dive with anyone who might find it helpful.
Yes, definitely.
We're all about empowering each other to become ultimate masters of our own lives.
Yes.
And understanding these deeper parts of ourselves is a big step in that direction.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've got this idea of the collective unconscious and these powerful archetypes swimming around in it.
Yeah.
But how do we actually see them? They're not like physical things, right?
Right. Think of it like this. The archetype itself is like a mold. It's the potential, the pattern, but what we encounter are archetypal images.
Okay.
These are how the archetype gets expressed in stories, myths, even in people we meet.
So like the hero archetype is the basic idea of courage and overcoming challenges, but then we have images of that archetype.
Yes.
Hercules in myths, Joan of Arc in history. Maybe even that brave kid who stands up to a bully.
Exactly. The image is how the archetype takes shape in a particular time and place. And Jung was fascinated by how certain images, even from ancient times, still resonate with us today.
It's like we recognize something familiar,
Yes.
something deep within us when we encounter these images, even if we've never seen them before.
Right.
It's almost like remembering something we never knew we knew.
That's a great way to put it. And that's why Jung thought myths and stories were so important. They
Okay.
weren't just entertainment, they were a way for cultures to work through these universal human experiences.
So when we're drawn to certain stories, certain characters, maybe we're actually being drawn to the archetypes they embody.
Exactly. Think about why superhero movies are so popular.
Oh, yeah.
They're full of archetypal images, the hero, the villain, the damsel in distress, though thankfully those are evolving.
Right.
These images tap into our deepest desires and fears.
The material you sent mentioned Superman, specifically calling him a kind of modern-day messiah. That seems like a pretty heavy comparison.
It is, but it makes sense when you look at the parallels. Superman comes from another world. He has extraordinary powers. He sacrifices himself for humanity. These are all motifs that resonate with the archetype of the divine child, the one who comes to save us.
Wow, I never thought about Superman like that before, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like he embodies our longing for something greater than ourselves, for someone to come and set things right.
Exactly, and it's not just in movies.
Right.
We see archetypal images everywhere in advertising and politics, even in the way we describe ourselves and each other.
So by understanding these archetypes, we can start to see through the surface level to understand the deeper forces at play in our lives and in the world around us.
Absolutely. It's like learning a new language,
Yeah.
the language of the psyche, and the more fluent we become in that language, the more empowered we become.
This is so cool. I'm starting to see archetypes everywhere now. Okay, so we've talked about the persona, the shadow, the anima, and animus, but there's one more big archetype. Jung talks about the self. What's that all about?
The self is the trickiest one to explain because it's not about a specific way of being, but rather about wholeness. Jung saw it as the ultimate goal of life, to become a complete integrated individual.
So it's not about being perfect, but about embracing all parts of ourselves, even the messy ones.
Exactly. The self includes the conscious and unconscious, the light and the shadow. It's the center point around which everything else revolves.
And how do we even begin to approach something as big as the self?
For Jung, it's a lifelong process called individuation. It's about becoming aware of all the different parts of ourselves, the archetypes that are active in our lives, and learning to integrate them into a whole personality.
That sounds like a pretty epic journey.
It is, but it's a journey worth taking because when we connect with the self, we connect with a sense of meaning and purpose that transcends the everyday ups and downs of life.
This is heavy stuff. I think our listeners might need a moment to digest all of this, but before we move on, I want to remind everyone that you can always check out www.ultimatemasteries.org/coaching or WhatsApp +2567713241119 if you want more guidance on your own personal growth journey. We're here to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with anyone who might benefit from exploring these ideas. Knowledge is power, and sharing it is a gift.
Welcome back to Becoming Ultimate Masters. We were just talking about this idea of individuation, like
Yeah.
this journey of becoming a whole person, integrating all the different parts of ourselves.
Mm.
That's no easy task. It sounds like a lifelong process.
It is. Jung believed that individuation is the central task of life, the journey of becoming who you truly are. And it's not always easy. It involves confronting our shadows, embracing our complexities, and constantly striving for greater awareness.
So it's not about like reaching some sort of like perfect finished state, but rather about continuing to grow and evolve.
Exactly. It's about becoming more conscious, more integrated, more fully ourselves. And it's a journey that each of us must undertake in our own unique way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to life, is there?
Right. But there are tools and insights that can help us along the way.
Okay.
Jung believed that dreams were one of the most powerful tools for individuation. He saw them as messages from the unconscious, offering guidance and revealing hidden aspects of ourselves.
We talked about dream journaling earlier. Are there other ways to work with our dreams in a Jungian way?
Yes. Active imagination is a technique that Jung developed to help us engage with the unconscious more directly.
Okay.
It involves taking an image or symbol from a dream and consciously interacting with it, allowing it to unfold and reveal its deeper meaning.
So it's almost like daydreaming, but with a purpose.
Exactly. It's about using our imagination as a bridge between the conscious and unconscious worlds, and it can be a powerful way to access our creativity, intuition, and inner wisdom.
Okay, this is all so fascinating. It's like Jung is giving us a whole new toolbox for understanding ourselves and navigating the challenges of life.
He is, and remember, individuation is not just about personal growth, it's also about contributing to the world in a meaningful way. Jung believed that as we become more whole, we become more capable of love, compassion, and creative expression.
It's not just about being the best you can be, but also about making the world a better place.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and understanding that our individual journeys are ultimately part of a larger collective journey.
Wow, that's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of Carl Jung and archetypes,
hmm
what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
I want them to remember that they are not alone on this journey of self-discovery. We all have these archetypal patterns within us, these shared human experiences that connect us to each other and to something larger than ourselves.
It's like we're all in this together, even when it doesn't always feel like it.
Exactly. And by understanding these archetypes, by embracing our complexities, and by continually striving for greater awareness, we can all move towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life, both for ourselves and for the world around us.
That's a beautiful message to end on, and a huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this incredible journey into the depths of the human psyche.
It was my pleasure. I'm always excited to share these ideas and to see how they can inspire others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on Becoming Ultimate Masters. Remember to subscribe and share this episode with anyone who might be ready to dive deeper into their own inner world. We're here daily with new episodes exploring the tools and insights you need to unlock your full potential and live a more empowered and fulfilling life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep becoming the ultimate master of your own destiny. And if you're looking for more support on your journey, check out www.ultimatemasters.org/coaching or WhatsApp +2567713241119. See you next time.